Hey, what's up guys? This is Martin here from Kodiak. Your favorite Chad from Poland is here. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, today, we're gonna talk about the 8 signs you're sexually attractive, even if you don't think so, okay? So, guys, I've already made countless videos on this topic in the past, but at the same time, you guys seem to really enjoy these kind of videos. You know, these videos always give me the most amount of views, the most amount of likes, comments, and everything. So, what's the conclusion here? I'm going to keep on making them. So, let's get on with the video, shall we? So, sign number 1. People are overly kind and nice to you. And this includes everyone, by the way. Random strangers, people at the grocery store, cashiers, sales clerks. Random women, your teachers, your boss, your coworkers. I could go on and on and on. It doesn't matter who it is. People will be nice to you, generally speaking. I mean, every now and then there's going to be that dickhead or that little Karen who's going to be mad at you for no reason. But that's the exception to the rule. Most of the time, people are going to be very, very receptive to your presence. And to, just to speak to you in general. They're not going to have a problem with it. So, and you know why this is happening? It's because people treat attractive people differently. And I know this is going to sound unpopular to say it, but it's a privilege to be attractive or beautiful. People just treat you in a very different way. They perceive you to be higher status. It's just like with having money. It's a very similar thing. Because attractive people, especially attractive men, I would say are pretty scarce. They're not really that common. Beautiful women are pretty common, I mean, depending on where you live, obviously. But at the same time, it is a rare thing. Like the average Joe, the average, Uncle Sam is not attractive. So if you're attractive, people will treat you nicely. That's the bottom line. Which actually leads me to my next sign. It's going to be a nice segue here. Number 2, strangers approach you, or they initiate conversation with you. Man, this thing has happened to me so many times in the past. Whenever I walk down the street, my little grocery store, or I walk, through the mall, or I'm waiting for something in line, people will always find a way to talk to me. And I always found it to be a little bit strange, but now that I'm actually analyzing the whole thing and analyzing all these situations and really reflecting on them, I can see why it happens. Because people want to talk to attractive people. You're appealing in their eyes. They're going to approach you. They won't want to talk to you. That's just how it is. And the reason why they're doing it, again, is because they look at you a certain way. They know you have some kind of value that most people don't have. And that's how it is. And people will be very nice to you. Like, sometimes they will go really over the top. They will do so many small little extra favors when you're talking to them. Or people will also be very interested in talking to you. They will ask you a lot of questions. And it's going to be a very positive, you're going to have a lot of positive interactions with people. Random strangers, I'm not talking about family here. Because, being judged by your family on your attractiveness, it's not really going to be a good a measure. You always want to rate your interactions with strangers and people that you don't know that well. Okay, I would also exclude friends from this one. Okay, depending on who they are, but if strangers are approaching you, or they're just, maybe they're just talking about some stupid shit. Hey, do you like these potatoes? I mean, and you're like, what? You're standing at, you're in the grocery store, okay? You're picking up some potatoes, and this one chick approaches you. Hey, what do you think about these potatoes? They're a little wet. I'm like, what? What? Or you're waiting in line at the post office, and some guy just, starts talking to you. And if that happens to you, that's a great sign you're attractive. Irrespective of who it is. Even if it's males, females. Because I'm a man, like most of these when it comes to most of these signs, I'm speaking from a man's perspective. I'm very sure most of these signs will happen to women as well, because they're pretty much across the board. Okay, next one. Number 3. People are drawn to you. They always linger around you. This is a very, very good sign, particularly if you want to attract the opposite sex. Like I'm a guy, if I want to attract females, one of the best ways you can measure your attractiveness is by looking at females and see how they're responding to you. It's a very, very strong sign because it's reinforcing to you that you're attractive. If women are always around you, they take one look at you, they look at you one time, they stare at you, and then, they're like looking at you from a distance, and then, a couple minutes later, they're around you. Very, very good sign. And this can happen anywhere. At the gym, it's a very, famous one. At school, at work, at a restaurant. Maybe if you're taking the bus, like literally, like yesterday, because I'm usually driving by my car. I rarely take public transport, but yesterday it was the exception. I was just standing at the bus. I was standing inside the bus because it was pretty crowded. I couldn't have a seat, and there was this one chick that was like standing kind of away from me. She was like, I don't know, a couple of meters away from me, like a couple feet. But as soon as I kind of like moved away from her, I was trying to find my place. She was following me around. And this also happened to a different chick on a different bus yesterday, the same day, which was so funny. But it's going to happen. Women are just going to be drawn to you. And she may not have to necessarily have her body pointed in your direction. She can actually be, she doesn't have to face you. Her back can be turned, she can be turned with her back to you. So that's just how it is. And sometimes it can happen in groups. Like sometimes you can have a group of girls that will they will just be absorbed in your presence. But this is for a reason. They're attracted to you, my G. Okay. Next one, number 4. You get hate from the same sex. So if you're a woman and you're watching this, if you're receiving a lot of hate from other women, that's a really, really strong sign you're attractive. The same deal if you're a man. If you're an attractive man, you are bound to receive a lot of hate from men. Or I wouldn't necessarily say that it's explicit hate, because it's usually very subtle. They don't just openly or blatantly just say to you that you're ugly or that you're this and that. They might call you out and tell you that you're a jerk, you're this, you have a big ego, you look like a gay, right? Or that you're not ugly, which I get it, I get it all the time on my videos from some guys, or not all the time, but I always have a couple comments on my videos from guys that are always trying to rate my looks. And the funny thing is, they always have no pictures online. Every single goddamn fucking time. Why is that? Okay? Because the ladies seem to be quite receptive to me, but that's a whole different thing. But if you're getting a lot of hate from the same sex, you are attractive. Because you're just not them, they can't be like you. You have something which they don't have. And yes, it can also happen from the opposite sex, especially with I'm a guy, for instance. If I'm receiving some hate from a Karen or an ugly chick, it can happen. But it's a lot more rare. I think hate from the same sex tends to happen quite a lot, on a daily basis. So if you're getting hate from the same sex, you're attractive, most likely. Okay, number 5. And this is an interesting one, by the way. Number 5. Kids and babies look at you a lot. And the reason why I'm saying this is because kids are not really conscious of their acts. Because their brain are not fully developed. So, when you can see sometimes you can see a little stroller, right? There's a kid that's sitting there. A little toddler, basically. And if toddlers are staring at you, I know this sounds like a really freaking weird sign, but it's true. Because kids don't have any kind of preconceived notions and beliefs about people. It does not exist in their brain. They just look at people, you know? They just look at things that are appealing in their eyes. You know, just like if a really nice car, you know, drives by, like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, that kid is going to look. Why? Because it stands out. Now, he's not going to look at all these boring cars that are driving by. No. But whenever a really nice Lamborghini drives by, that kid is going to be like, wow, what is that? Mom, Dad, what was that? And the mom's saying, you know, he's that evil rich guy. He's a jerk. Don't look at it. It's material, you know, cars are bad. It's not for you. But that kid actually likes that kind of thing. He's getting all filled up. He's getting juiced up, right? He's getting, you know, he's being excited about this whole thing. So if kids are looking at you a lot, you're attractive. It's the same thing if you're a woman. If a lot of kids are staring at you, like we're talking about really small kids. Like we're not talking about teenagers here. We're talking about kids, babies, and toddlers. Like, you know, generally speaking, kids that are under 8 to 10 years old. Okay? So, next one. Number 6. This is kind of related to the last one. People stare at you when you're not looking. And this is very different with the eye contact thing. Because, generally speaking, like if you're attractive, people will glance at you. People will look in your direction very frequently. But I found in my experience, especially since I like really started working on myself, people usually stare at me when I'm not looking. And the funny thing with all of this is that you're not going to be aware of it until somebody points it out to you, like your friend, your girlfriend, right? Maybe your wingman, your wing girl. You might be, you know, out and about. You might be doing your own thing. And your friend tells you, hey man, did you notice those girls were staring at you? They were looking at you all the time. And you're like, huh? Really? You're all surprised and shit. Nah, hell no, they weren't looking at me. They were eating their food. No, they were looking at you. You know, they can catch you off guard, but it's a real sign. And the reason why is because people, generally speaking, will avoid making eye contact with you, like complete strangers. And ironically, I found, in my experience, and fellas, please tell me if you can relate to this. I found that the more attractive the woman, the more likely she's going to avoid eye contact with you. And I don't know why that is, because you would think the exact opposite. Like, literally, yesterday, I saw this beautiful chick. Like, she was gorgeous. She was stunning. And I could see she was looking at me. She was positioning herself in my presence. But she would avoid direct eye contact with me. She would look at me through the mirrors, right? But it was just so strange. I don't know how to explain it. But whenever it happens, it's always like really, it's always surprising to me as to why this is happening. Because normal girls also will avoid eye contact with you, but not to that extent. Maybe it's because beautiful women never really develop their senses and their attraction skills, their relationship skills. Maybe that's the reason why it's happening. So, but if people are staring at you, particularly from a distance, yeah, that's a really, really strong sign that you're attractive. And really ask yourself this question. Do you think that they will be staring at your ass if you're ugly? Hell no. They would avoid you. They wouldn't even bother looking at you. Which I know this is strange because it might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. Because people, if you're very attractive, I feel like people will look at you, but it's only when you're not looking. But directly, like if you're just about to pass them by, you're about to cross each other, they're not going to look at you. Or they might give you that last little glance right before you're about to pass them. Okay, that little double glance. But it's so subtle. And it happens so quickly. So, let's get on to the next one. Okay, number 7. And this kind of goes back to what I just talked about. Number 7. People ignore you. Particularly women, or men if you're a girl who's watching this. And I think this sign right here applies mostly to people who are really good looking. I wouldn't just say basic attractive. I would say people who are at least an 8. You know, like if you have a scale from 1 to 10, you have to be at least an 8 to experience this. But people will ignore you deliberately. Like strangers, or even your friends or your family members, right? They will like pretend like you're not there, like you don't exist. So let's say you see your old friend and you're like, hey, you bump into him, hey, what's happening, man? And they're like, oh, they're all surprised and shit. Like, oh, I didn't see you. But most of the time, it's actually a lie. They're not telling you the truth. They've already seen you, but they want to act like you don't exist. And I feel like this happens a lot with people who are just embarrassed. They're intimidated by you. They don't want to acknowledge your presence, but they know you're there. And I know this sounds so fucked up, but it's a real sign. And I've experienced it many, many times in my own life. But people will ignore you. Even women. Even women that are attracted to you. You know, your friends. Whenever they see you, or like they will pretend like you're not there. But it's a real thing. And I think a lot of y'all have experienced this. So don't feel jaded. Don't feel embarrassed about the whole thing. Don't be emotional. Don't be all, pissed off and shit. It is normal. And the reason why it's happening is because when you're attractive, or particularly when you're more attractive than them, you're just going to unleash a lot of insecurities and a lot of bad feelings when it comes to people. They're just not going to know how to act around you. So it's real. It's real. Okay, last sign, number 8. People compare you to celebrities. Like with me, for instance. I've been compared to a lot of celebs in the past. The most common one is Cillian Murphy, for some reason. I don't know why. Because I don't think we're really that similar, to be honest. I'm a lot taller than him. And I'm actually a lot more muscular at the same as well. But the other one that I also get quite a lot of my videos is, what was his name? The Vampires guy. Ian Somerhalder. Those are usually the ones that I get the most. But if people are always comparing you to celebrities, or famous actors, famous actresses, you can bet that you're attractive. Why? Because people who are actors, people who are celebrities, people who are on TV, even on these, TV shows, these, gossip talks or whatever it is, they're usually good looking. They're not going to take an ugly ass to sit there in front of millions of people. They're just not. They're just not. So if you're being compared to, famous people, famous, good-looking actors, you're attractive, most likely. So, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We have a free Discord group that you can join down below. And, by the way, if you're experiencing all these signs, or even, let's just say you're experiencing half of these signs, that means you're attractive. So, it's real. It's real. Embrace it and be happy that you have it, because it's not going to last forever. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. God bless y'all.